everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Jedi Way here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, always known as Rocha Fed around these parts, and I'm really excited to be back in the saddle again in this bucket of bolts we call a show to have a little fun talking about the world of Star Wars. And never has it resembled a bucket of bolts more than it has today. But these two wonderful people join me along to talk about some Star Wars. The great Laura Kelly, co-host Force Toast Pod, co-host here, and of course, lover of the High Republic. How are you, Laura? You looking good? What's going on? You heading out to a function there with the higher ups in Star Wars? What's going on here?
Wouldn't that be something? No, heading out to a function with higher ups in the friend group, just to hang out on a patio and have some drinks. That'll be later. I'm excited to sit and chat and talk with you guys about Star Wars today. It's like a little Friday Star Wars happy hour for us over here on the Jedi Way. I totally dig it.
I love it. I love it. And Kevin Smets, who has had some technical issues, which is why we're seeing him using his phone. Kevin Solo, tell us, how's it going there on your ship there?
Your Laura's plans are delayed by 25 minutes because I couldn't get for some reason, StreamYard's not working with even my camera on my Mac. So anyone in the comments who wants to leave a comment on what to do, wasn't working. It works on my photo booth, works on Zoom, worked on Riverside, wasn't working with StreamYard.
Yeah.
I have no idea. So the only benefit is that Rocha is in a very smaller window. I don't have to see his big face on my...
That's a fair point. I do have a large Easter Island head. I appreciate that. It's true.
It's good to talk Star Wars, but I'm a little thrown off by all this technical issues, but we'll be okay. Sorry to delay your plans, Laura.
No, not at all. I'm here for this. This is plan number 1 tonight.
That's very kind of you. Yeah, we're going to get into all the things going on in the world of Star Wars over the last week. Have some fun talking about some new Skeleton Crew stuff, some stuff going on with Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. There's been some interesting stuff that's popped up over the last few days as well that we're going to jump into and talk about here on the show. Just a reminder, please follow these two wonderful people on their social media. Please remember to subscribe to the channel as well and hit that bell button because we're always dropping these episodes, but sometimes with scheduling, you never know when it's going to drop. So the quickest way to know when you're going to get a new episode of the Jedi Way is to subscribe and hit that bell button as well. All right, let's dive into the first thing, and that is little Star Wars, little Skeleton Crew action. We are very close to this film coming out, or the show rather coming out. And Entertainment Weekly did a fantastic breakdown of it, talking about showing some exclusive photos and revealing Jaleel White as a space pirate, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that shot. Did I steal that? There you go.
You got to put more moxie in it. Come on. You were doing it better before we recorded. One more. Take 2.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know how to do. I can't do it anymore. No, don't put me on the spot. Did I steal that? Well, anyway, there. And I love this look. We see some familiar aliens, some different kind of species, but this is a great little look for Jaleel White. We also have another shot here within this article. Here, look at that. Oh my. I mean, that is and look, Laura, they conveniently put that weapon somewhere there. I mean, this is a very swaggering, sexy kind of rough Jedi. Han Solo wore his on his hip. That's not the way Jude Law is going to wear it. So your thoughts if you see these pictures here, Laura, and hear that they are talking about space pirates. They're going to really lean into this. The article also mentions that we're going to get Fred Tatasciore, very well-known voiceover actor Fred Tatasciore as Brutus, and we're going to get performance artist Mike Estes as Pax, and Chailt is going to be played by Orange as the New Black's Dale Solis. So some really cool, interesting stuff here, Laura. What are your thoughts when you look at these photos and read this stuff here from Entertainment Weekly?
Well, I've been a big fan of Jude Law for a really long time, so I'm very excited to see him in Star Wars, and he looks great. This look is just awesome. They talk a lot about how his look is very purposeful, going with that like long leather duster jacket, and sort of giving him a little bit more of like this pirate vibe was very much on purpose. So I think they also describe it as a whole new kind of Jedi. So this might be something we haven't really seen a lot before. I've seen a couple of articles point out that he's got this blaster, and we haven't seen a lot of Jedi using blasters frequently in live action. We've seen a little bit of that in animation, but this will be sort of a new thing for us to get this more in live action. And I'm excited to have the idea of like a sort of gunslinging Jedi running around the galaxy in this sort of lawless time. Piracy is on the rise. I think is going to make for a really exciting story.
Yeah, what do you think of these pictures here, Kevin? And what do you think of the energy and the vibe that you're seeing here from these pictures, and especially from the Jude Law shot, but also let's not overlook Julia White. I mean, with that little almost Lobot setup that he's got going on. What are your thoughts on these pictures and what we're getting here in this article from Entertainment Weekly?
Well, can you put them back on the screen? It's so small on my iPhone here. I can't really see it.
There you go.
Yeah, no, they still, my eyes have been getting progressively worse. It's crazy how quickly age catches up. There's that cool wolf guy there. People are like, is that a Bothan? Yeah, cool photo. Right now it just looks like a bunch of blurs, but yeah, I'm excited. I've always liked Jude Law. I thought he was good in Sherlock movies. What's that one? Talented Mr. Ripley, he was good in. I thought he was a great Dumbledore. I think that it's a shame they don't get to finish those movies, because I never like when anything's unfinished, whether or not some of the movies are bad or people hate it. Like they set all these things up and it's just never going to be completed. So, and he's going from that fandom to this fandom, which is way more welcoming on anything new in the Star Wars universe, right? Any new canon added to Star Wars is so welcome universally. So if we're going from Dumbledore to this, it's probably going to be a piece of cake.
I'm picking up your sarcasm.
Especially if they're rewriting the way Jedi are. So, I mean, I'm sure everybody's going to be stoked on that, too, of how this Jedi will be seen as a different type of Jedi. Oh, my God. Just coming to that realization in that speech right now makes me freak out for him. But, yeah, I've always thought, like, why didn't, my Jedi in my KOTOR movies uses a blaster sometimes, too. It's like, hey, it's right over there across the chasm. I got to shoot the guy, So, yeah. I'm curious if he just had to do it because he was in hiding, and he's so far. My prediction on it, I love my predictions, is he's Plagueis. No, I'm kidding. My prediction is, I think he's so far off the beaten path, because didn't they say this is going to be taking place in the unknown regions or far away from where it normally is? I'm thinking he's a Jedi that's still in hiding and has no idea that the war's over, because I'm sure this takes place after the war, right? So maybe it's like you hear that story of the Japanese soldier that lived in the jungles on an island or whatever, secluded, and didn't find out that World War II was over until like 1985 or something crazy. Wow. So maybe he's like that. It's a version of a Jedi that like didn't know that the war's over, so he's in hiding. That's why he doesn't have his lightsaber. He's using this, swashbuckling gun. So I'm excited, and yeah, Julia White, like, why not? I'm curious to see. I'm just there for your impersonation of him, Rocha. That's
no way. No. Come on, there's better people who do a good Urkel, especially Julia White. But like one of the comments here is with the era we're in, we're kind of getting to play with that lawless thing. The Empire is gone, and so we're playing with a part of the galaxy that has a resurgence of piracy. So that's a fascinating approach to this all as well that Christopher Ford is laying out here that I think is exciting to take a look at. And I actually think the Jude Law look and picture works. I mean, it's a little Lando, it's a little Han, like a mixture of the two, that Lando open shirt thing, and then the jacket the way it is, and just the general swagger. But look, the way the gun is placed, or the blaster is placed, and that looks like an old school like musket type blaster from like the old West days. I think it's meant to imply, and he's also got a little rapier or whatever it is down there. But like I think this is to imply like it's a quick shot because he's a pirate, because there's piracy going on. Like he's got to be able to get to that blaster quick, and having it there right in front, I think, is on purpose so that he can move quickly in the situation and shoot quickly if he needs to, as opposed to Han, who was not necessarily someone who was trying to shoot with the blaster quickly in his situations. He liked to use his mouth more than his blaster. So maybe this is why you have the blaster to the front. But another part of this that I think we should discuss, another part of the article, is something that came up near the end here. Some people are taking this quote, and I want to hear what you guys, and kind of running with it a little bit. John Watts, near the end of this article, the way this is set up by the Entertainment Weekly writer, finding the sweet spot was something Watts and Ford were looking to do for the series as a whole, as they created an entirely new world within the already pre-existing one of Star Wars, a world within certain rules that can't be broken. Quote, this is from John Watts. What's great about working at Lucasfilm is that they'll let you know if you've gone outside of the boundaries. Dave Filoni is our goalkeeper. And Watt says he actually is a great hockey player, but he's also a figurative goalkeeper. We will come up with ideas of things that we like, and then he'll be like, actually, maybe it's this, or, oh, we already did something like that somewhere else. And you always end up with a bunch of other episodes of Star Wars to go watch and things to go read, and it's good. You feel like you can safely explore things creatively without making some huge canonical mistake. And he gets both sides of that because he did that mentoring under George Lucas. So he gets that thing of, I want to make a whole new kind of Jedi. And then someone being like, okay, hold on. A lot of people have thought about this. Let's do this the right way. And it's so helpful. So some people have taken that quote and been like, oh, see, so Filoni is getting involved with these things, shaping these stories, shaping these shows to be what he wants them to be, although the creators are coming in. So do you guys feel like, is this a little bit of wanting to put my fingers on everything? Or is this more like Feige shepherding in a certain way because they want an overall vision and feel and look of this thing like you did with the Marvel Universe? What do you guys take from these comments? Laura, what do you think of these comments here?
Well, at first it made me think of the novel Force Collector that came out as part of the Rise of Skywalker publishing initiative, that Journey to. It's one of the young adult novels was called Force Collector. And I remember at one point when it came out, they said they had asked the writer to change some major things in that novel because it ended up actually being very similar to the plot of the Rise of Skywalker. They had to make some huge edits to it. And I like the idea in theory that somebody like Dave Filoni is involved in overseeing the stories of things like that. So that kind of thing doesn't happen. We don't want to see a story that we've already seen. And we've seen these kind of outlaw Jedi running around the galaxy in other media in Star Wars.
Right.
So you have to have a different, fresh take on that. And if maybe what they brought to the drawing board with draft one lined up a little bit too closely to something that they hadn't seen, because again, I don't expect John Watts and Christopher Ford to watch every single Star Wars thing that has ever come out or read or listen to or anything like that. That's why you need to have somebody like Dave Filoni in place as, call it a goalkeeper if that's what works. What I'm not as wild about is him having like unlimited creative control over everything. And it's not clear if that's necessarily what's happening here. And if John Watts is just kind of glazing over it and trying to be diplomatic and have it sound better than that. I have a feeling that there are some Star Wars fans that could interpret it that way. It's not surprising at all that there would be some people that would read this and run with it in maybe a negative fashion. This in the Star Wars fandom, can you imagine? But I like to think that this is just making sure that we're not getting repeat stories. Somebody has to be in the know about everything that's happening. And I'm glad that we have somebody in that position at Lucasfilm, but I can totally see how people are going to run with it in a different way. But I don't know, Kevin, how did you interpret this?
I just thought of back to when everybody was bitching about the Acolyte, that Dave Filoni got off too easy. Like, if everybody's hating on Acolyte, they were all blasting, Leslie and the writers and stuff. Like, if Filoni's the last one that is making all these decisions, like, he should get just as much shit. And I feel like he kind of skated through, like, really wasn't getting a lot of vitriol on him about that. So, yeah, that's an eye-opener. I wasn't aware. I figured because people weren't bringing up his name in the conversation. Like, if a Marvel movie does bad, like, Feige is going to get the brunt of it too. Like, that's it, because he's the man in charge. So, it's interesting, but I mean, it always makes me feel good because I do think I don't like someone to have too much power, obviously, but he's the closest to this just because he was so under the tutelage of George Lucas. You know what I mean? The only thing is, I know he doesn't like KOTOR, so so someone having that much power about that. Although I'm convinced that they watch KOTOR. I'll get into that later with the Galaxy Bricks show, whatever, that I had to watch. But anyways, as far as, but I do like his storytelling. I do love the Clone Wars. So I'm looking for, he's directing the live action Grogu Mandalorian, right? That's his baby.
No, that's Favreau's doing that one.
Favreau. What's
he's
the one
co-writing.
Didn't they give him one to do?
He's co-writing. Yeah, he's
gonna have his own, like, they've been calling it sort of the Avengers Endgame, I think, of Star Wars. That'll be Dave Filoni, but he is co-writing the movie with the Mando movie with Jon Favreau.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah. I never like to have someone have too much power, though. I agree with you guys. But as far as in the interim, I was so distracted with just my thoughts of like going back and trying to think like, was he getting a lot of hate on with the Acolyte stuff? And I don't remember, but I feel like
No, he wasn't. And I was trying to make sure we called him out on my little corner of the universe to make sure it wasn't just everybody going after Leslie, that Dave did he has to take some responsibility, just like Feige does. I mean, Feige's out there, and when stuff doesn't work, Feige's who people bring up along with the director, along with the actors or the writers or whatever. It is Feige making final approval. It's kind of nebulous with Filoni. It's not Filoni choosing the directors, choosing the stories, choosing the writers, right? Whereas Feige is very much doing that with the Marvel side of things. And so it seemed like a little bit of brand saving from John Watts, like, hey, he's our goalkeeper. He does these kinds of things. But I mean, the other side of it is, yeah, as Laura said, one person being in charge of the entire creative direction of Star Wars, I think can be a little dangerous, especially if you're not like fully saying this is the person. Everything stops and ends with this guy, and then we'll go from there. So it's just an interesting commentary. But I also think you made a nice point, Laura. It's for creators coming in who aren't steeped into the world. Like Leslie certainly knew a lot about Star Wars and what a direction, but maybe John Watts isn't as knee deep and read all the books and read all the stuff. And so you need someone there who's like, no, actually, we did that already. It was in blah, 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 because you avoid the WandaVision multiverse of madness situation where you essentially repeat the same story in a feature film that you already saw in WandaVision. And so you don't want to have that situation in Star Wars. So I understand that. So there's a good and a bad side to this thing. It just all depends. We won't know probably for another few years how his creative direction and creative control of these things are going to go. That being said, I'm just getting really excited for Skeleton Crew. You know, I was excited for Agatha all along, and I was really surprised and happy with how it turned out. And I hope Skeleton Crew is the same way. It's been a tough year. Lord knows we could use a good Star Wars show that most people like so we can just enjoy our Christmases and not deal with the drama of the Star Wars fandom and the
I feel the same about Penguin. Penguin
Yeah,
got off
great.
to a fantastic start. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
Go read. All right, let's move on to another subject here. Let's talk about the Lando spinoff situation. Donald Glover, I mean, we're still waiting on this one. It is coming. Don't get it confused. Some people got confused about the Lando stuff. This series is coming. It will be, he was asked about this series, and he said, I just want it to be fun. Like, as a Star Wars fan myself, I think it's important that there just needs to be more fun being had. It's very hard to have fun right now. It's tough because there are very serious things happening, and I'm sure as socially conscious as Donald is with his music, he is referencing the things that are going on in our world, and those are the only things that connect us weirdly. So I get why things are serious, but part of the human experience, I believe, is we have a responsibility to have enjoyment, and I just feel like we're lacking in that department. Star Wars, I love it, but sometimes it can be super serious. Sometimes it's like way too serious. It's like everything that has to do with the Skywalker is like so serious. Lando, I think the best part about him is he's a scoundrel, you know, and I feel like people can relate to that. And he's probably like, man, this war is whack. I need money, which I feel everyone can relate to. So I want to just bring fun to Star Wars. I just want it to be fun. So, Kevin, it's clear.
Does he want it to be fun?
Yeah, he wants it to be fun. So, I mean, he said it like 30 times within these sentences. So, well, what's your feeling on this, man? Is he hitting on something that there maybe a lot of the fans are exhausted by, and they do want to just enjoy Star Wars and have some fun?
Yeah, I mean, I love fun Star Wars. I love Solo, a Star Wars story. I'm one of the, on the John Hoey train of make Solo 2 happen. So, I don't think it always has to be so like overly serious. Like in my own, like the KOTOR movies, like we're doing prequels, and Revan's backstory is actually very dark. It's like Apocalypse Now style, like it's a war, like he was in a war. But like, so I wanted to split the story and have the first movie of the prequels or the first series of the prequels be more upbeat and fun and like a swashbuckling adventure. So I purposely did that because sometimes you want to have a little light and brevity in your Star Wars. So I'm excited about it, and I think that he has the right idea, and I would really trust him in the process. I hope that Han is involved too. I think a victory for Lando would be a victory for Han Solo and all those people at the Make Solo 2 movement. So, not everything, like, they had like musical numbers, right? In some of the Marvel movies, I'm sure they could
Yes.
have. Not saying to have a musical number in Star Wars. I'm just saying that you can depart a little from
I mean, the
typical
Ewoks were
darkness.
dancing around. The Ewoks were dancing around the Return of the
Yeah,
Trump.
or how about in Tang Jedi rocks, right? So there's always been a little silliness. I
Yeah.
think that some people, if it gets, but the worry is, see, Solo, they replaced the filmmakers because they were doing too much ad lib, and the writer there ran back to tell mommy like, hey, they're not reading my script enough, they're going too off base. So is Star Wars and the people behind it going to allow something like that where it would be too, maybe it's not too fun? Now, again, I'm going to be reporting back on a children's show right now that is absolutely wonkers, and Leia is dating Greedo. Spoiler alert. So I'm not joking. So we'll get to that. But
Lego.
spoiler alert for all the fans of the Rebuilding the Galaxy show.
Oh, Lego.
But yeah, more fun in Star Wars, man. That's why I hope. But I hope Skeleton Crew's like that. I feel like Skeleton Crew needs to have a little bit more of that fun too.
Yeah, these are weird. These are interesting comments. I won't say weird, Laura. These are interesting comments because I mean, Donald Glover is one of these people that has kind of banged the drum for representation, for having black voices in a lot of the fandom. If people forget, he was writing a Deadpool animated series, or I think live action series, and no, it wasn't animated, I think, and then it was moved off of it because he went too far with the jokes. Him and his brother, that was the big deal that happened there. So the fact that he's out here saying we need to have fun, I understand the serious stuff, and certainly a lot of his, I mean, This Is America is one hell of a song. So Donald has been strong out there in talking about the social issues of the world. So it's fascinating to hear him say we need to have fun, we need to relax, we need to have more fun, and it's like, well, you were part of the movement contributing to us taking everything seriously, and now you want to pull back and have fun. So it's an interesting commentary. Help me make sense of these words, Laura. What do you hear when you hear what Donald is saying here, given his entire context as an artist and a creative performer?
I mean, I think part of that could just be him trying to strike a balance within his own life and his own creative bunch of works. And good for him for doing that. I mean, you're right. Like, I think about the song This Is America, and you're right, that is a heavy song with a commentary on real world issues. And the fact that that guy is writing a Star Wars movie and talking about how he wants to make it a super fun movie. Like, you gotta have balance in your life, man. Like, you gotta like have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I'm sure that's what he's going for. And it sounds like this interview that he did with the Wall Street Journal magazine is so fun because he talks a lot about collaborating with his brother too, and how that like bringing that energy and having his brother as a collaborator on this is part of the journey of making it the fun story he wants to tell. And I kind of think about Solo and in that it is one of those Star Wars movies for me that still kind of feels a little Star Wars light, which I think is because there aren't any Jedi in it. So we have that part of the story removed completely from it. And it's just kind of, it tends to be my sort of go-to, I just need something Star Wars on in the background. Let's just turn on something silly and fun. And I will still go to Solo. And I love him as Lando, so I'm really excited for this. But I think that I do wonder if part of this is coming off of like the aftermath of The Acolyte and the aftermath of The Mandalorian season 3, which wasn't as well received as the first two seasons. In him just trying to maybe take a little bit more control over the idea of Star Wars in general and bringing it back to, let's remember that Star Wars is silly and fun at the very core. It's about hope and it's silly and it's fun. And yes, there is music that is also silly and fun. So honestly, I wouldn't say no to him bringing music into his Star Wars movie. There's another way that he can maybe strike some balance, but I'm looking forward to this quite a bit. And I highly recommend sitting and listening to this interview with him that he does with this magazine, because it's just great.
Yeah, it's up on YouTube if you all want to watch it. But yeah, I think you untangled this for me, Laura, because it's Donald Glover rather is the same guy who also does stand up, right? And you've seen his stand up specials that are super funny. And yeah, sometimes they'll comment on social stuff, but then they'll comment on random weird shit in the world. And so you can see that there's a combo and a balance for him. And so for him, he's probably, as you said, looking at the reception of The Acolyte, looking at the response of the fans. And most people who love Star Wars want to bring people together, not divide. And so him saying like, I want it to be fun. It's going to be fun. And this is a character you can have fun with. The last thing you want is, Lando leading some kind of revolution and, all that and the power in the hand. Like, you don't need that from Lando. Lando's not built that way, right? Does Lando make certain moves because he cares for his friends, or does he side on the good most of the time when he's not being a full-on scoundrel or he's not trying to save Cloud City? Sure, absolutely. And I think that's where he's looking at is let's have some fun. Let's bring back the swagger of Lando. Let's play around with this thing and let's take him on some fun adventures so people can come back to enjoying Star Wars again. And yeah, there might be some moments of commentary about rebellion or whatever within a story, within an episode. But overall, it's about Lando kind of exploring this stuff and having some fun while he's doing it. So yeah, I agree with you guys. I mean,
I think that would add to his arc too in the trilogy. You know
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
If we see that he comes from a farther place to eventually coming around to helping the Empire.
That's a good point.
And not the Empire, sorry.
The
Rebellion.
The Rebellion, right.
Yeah.
Right? He does become a very effective leader later on in the Rebellion, but like, let's see the fun journey that led to him becoming the more serious character down the road.
Yeah.
And I want to see some more Lando Calrissian Chronicles.
The comic book? Yeah.
The Chronicles, remember he was recording those like...
Oh yeah, his little holodrama diary.
Yeah.
I feel like I had the name of it and the number memorized for the Schmodown, but I can't remember it now. So all gone.
I remember the comic books. I like the comic book series. I know it didn't get the best reviews, but I liked it. So,
all right, fun in Rebels too.
Yeah, right. Let's move on to some Ewan McGregor stuff here. This is via Variety. He was talking about this, about the idea of coming back to play Obi-Wan Kenobi again, and he said, "quote I loved more than anything getting to know Alec Guinness's work because I was playing him as a young man. Even now with the series, that's my personal challenge. If a take feels a bit like him, I'm happy." And he added, after 25 years, he hasn't tired of playing Obi-Wan Kenobi. "I really do hope we get a chance to do another one," he says, between where we ended off in the series and when Alec Guinness comes on the screen with Luke Skywalker. I think there's another few stories to tell in here. And Hayden followed up on in his own interview talking about this. He said, "If it means that I got to do more with Ewan, then that's a no-brainer. But I really hope that he continues with the character just as a fan. It's so exciting to get to watch him play Obi-Wan. He's just so good at it." So it clearly sounds, Laura, like both of these dudes want to come back and have another shot. Maybe they also kind of sense that Kenobi wasn't that well received, and there's maybe a better story to tell, or a story to tell that more people will like, that's really focused on their own separate journeys as they maybe cross or almost cross paths. Like, do you think this is possible, or are you playing with fire? Because the whole thing of them not really knowing about each other, keeping space away from each other, is what kind of leads us into A New Hope. So what do you think about this? Would you want to see them both back? And would you want to see them both back in the same series? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I certainly want to see Ewan back as Obi-Wan, and I want an Obi-Wan season 2. I loved season 1 of that show, and I love the different, like the new elements of Star Wars lore that they set up in there. Things like the path, this underground railroad road for Jedi and for Force-sensitive children. I would love to see them dig into that idea a little bit more. I don't know so much if like I need more of Hayden in that specific story as Vader, because we know what that story is. We can't have them come to some sort of understanding or resolution in an Obi-Wan season 2, because he has to get to that he has to have that story with Luke later on in the original trilogy.
Right.
So I just don't know if I need more of Hayden, unfortunately. I think he was great in Ahsoka too. I thought he was great in Obi-Wan. I don't know if I really need to push it. There's so much Vader content in Star Wars storytelling. I mean, there are just countless comics and like different comic series that are all focused and revolving around Vader. And I just, there are other stories to tell. There are other characters to tell them with. So if we do get more Obi-Wan, sure, like let's get a Vader appearance in there every once in a while and maybe check in with him and see where he's at. But having them back on screen together, I'm not sure how you pull that off in any sense. But I don't know. I mean, there are certainly better creatives than me that could come up with a story that would work. But I just don't know if I necessarily need it. I just don't need more Vader content. I'm overloaded with Vader, but I could use more Obi-Wan season 2.
Like no Vader, no Tatooine, but give me more Obi-Wan for God's sake. Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Kevin. What are your thoughts on that?
Keep Tatooine. I would say one of my favorite parts of the Obi-Wan series is and the show or the movie where I rescored it, which was better. Was when he sits and he talks to Leia and he gives the qualities of Leia and says, these are the qualities from your mother. And then he talks about he was fierce and passionate and loyal. These are the qualities of your father. Like he's combining. And that was, for me, a big moment for Obi-Wan to realize, because I think he had a lot of guilt that Anakin turned bad. And his last memories when he's sleeping in the cave is Anakin burning up and all Anakin with the Sith eyes and evil. And he, realizes, that my friend is truly dead after that second duel. That like, okay, I'm just because and he says, don't worry, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did.
Right.
And that gave him the ability to let that go and be like, you know what, I can still celebrate the good man that Anakin was.
Yeah.
To this little girl, right? And without saying, hey, your dad's Vader. Remember, he was being sly about it, but that to me was a moment. That's how he came full circle, where he can now be prepared to, in 20 years, teach a little boy to kill his own dad. So, but no, but I do think that arc for him is the show. And if we just go back to it and have more back and forth, as much as I love that, no, I don't think you need that. I think that Hayden could be better served. Maybe flashbacks to the Clone Wars that relate to an issue that he's going through now, or if they do a Clone Wars show or a movie, de-age him and do Apocalypse Now in space, it would be great. But I do like the discarded things that were from the movie version, where they were going to do a trilogy where he was buddies with Cody, and Cody felt obligated to seek out Obi-Wan and be his protector, and that's what really was going on. Cody was actually protecting Luke while he was off on his adventures in the original script. So if we could bring a little of that back and have more local trouble, so keep it on Tatooine, or if they do leave, have Cody be watching Luke so he's not being like absentee, guardian there. We could have one more adventure, but I don't think it needs to relate to Vader. Maybe you could have it relate to Vader in such a way where they're not like interacting anymore, but like just shows his growth of like, no, I'm able to see Qui-Gon now because I was able to move past that hate and hurt and that guilt. And I think if you put Hayden back there and they have round 3, that would be a disservice to where I feel like he got at the end of the first season.
Yeah, that's a great point. You mess with the closure that you got at the end of the Kenobi series. But I think I'm on board with both of them coming back, but I might be more on board with what Laura said, which is a lot of Kenobi, great, limited Vader, yes. And I think I would agree with that because, listen, people can hate me all they want. I think Hayden is a decent actor. I don't think he's a great actor. Ewan is a great actor. And I think getting more to see what his life is like now on Tatooine after the closure, as you mentioned, Kevin, I think that would be exciting. I think that would be interesting. We get more of the daily life of Tatooine. What adventures would he go on? What's his relationships with the Tusken Raiders? What's the deal with Owen? And oh yeah, go ahead. Yes,
I got it. Okay. Old Mace, scarred and disfigured from lightning falling out of the window, is now obsessed with killing any last Skywalker because he knows that he never trusted Anakin, right? No, I don't trust him. And now he hears from Yoda through the Force that they have the twins alive. And so he's going to be like, I need to go fucking kill any last Skywalker because you can't trust a Skywalker. I don't trust him. And so then he's going to go, and then it will be Obi-Wan versus one-armed, half-cyborg Mace above the Sarlacc pit, while the sun sets, and then they fight, and then Mace falls into the Sarlacc pit. So then we know in Return of the Jedi, he's still being devoured under there because it takes, several millennia. Dude, write that. Come on. That's great.
I feel like I'm living the filibuster scene from Parks and Rec right now. So perfect. Like, keep going. Let's just see how long we can go.
I could, but I know you have your plans, so I delayed it long enough.
I don't know if I'm on board with that. I think I'm full up. I got all my Mace I need. I'm good. I'm like that woman in as good as it gets. We're all sold up here. Or Cuba Gooding, we're all sold up. But this situation, I like the idea of him coming back to Kenobi. I think a season 2 Kenobi would be fun. Strip it down, make it about his adventures. Yeah, you could check in with Leia, watch Luke from from a distance as Owen, and that, because he met him at the end there. That could be really interesting. And let's get into the world of Obi-Wan Kenobi. What happens to Kenobi? We always see Kenobi through the prism of Vader or Anakin or Qui-Gon or Luke. What about Kenobi, man? Let's have just a Kenobi series where we're exploring his past, exploring his, maybe flashing back and seeing what his upbringing was like and what led him into being a Jedi. What
his flashbacks.
Yeah, well, yeah, fair point. But I would love to see something like that with Kenobi. But with Vader a little bit less. But I think there could be him popping in, because I liked his pop in on Ahsoka. I think that was really strong. That was some of the best acting he's ever done, and it was really moving. So I think less is more with Hayden Christensen, and more is more with Ewan McGregor. So I'd be down to see that. Yeah, and don't bring them. I think it's too dangerous to bring them together, because people really want to keep that as a special thing. And so I think you're juggling chainsaws if you start doing that stuff. So.
Less of me. This is unfair. This is outrageous. Sorry. Horrible.
I don't know if you guys saw recently, Ewan was out somewhere this past week and someone yelled, "I have the high ground," and he yelled,
"Yeah,
I have the high ground," and
that was great.
All the nerds blew up. So it was
amazing.
Pretty cool. Yeah. All right, let's move on to this. Kevin, let's go to you on this one. Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. 4 episodes are out right now on Disney Plus. They're about 24 minutes each. I was really surprised. I thought these were going to be like 10, 12 minutes.
Yeah, so did I.
These are meaty episodes. Gaten Matarazzo is the voice of the protagonist, Sig Griebling. And I think Tony Revolori is in the first episode there as his brother. So I watched the first 15 minutes of the first episode. I kind of liked what I saw. I actually like the Lego Star Wars stuff. What are your thoughts on it? What's your review? What's your reaction to these episodes, brother?
Well, as a creator myself, and we're trying to get this multiverse Star Wars movie of our own, the KOTOR one. When they go to a temple, and the temple, sorry, so spoiler alert for like 5 minutes if you guys want to, save yourself from the story. But there's a great thing that happens.
You're going on for 5 minutes? Okay.
Huh?
You're going on for 5 minutes? Is that what you said?
Well, I don't know, 5 or I don't think it's going to be that long.
Okay,
I watched the first 3 episodes, but kind of skimmed while I was working. But a great multiversal event happens in a temple as the temple is like collapsing, and like that's literally in our KOTOR Convergence movie. Spoiler alert for the fans of our upcoming movie. We always joke and say Filoni has he totally subscribes to our channel, because in the Clone Wars or on the Rebels show, there were things that were like almost beat for beat exactly like some of our KOTOR movies. So
whoa.
Even though I know he hates KOTOR, and I'm not accusing him of stealing, by the way, it's in jest that we say this, because a temple utilizing the multiverse is not like some crazy original thing. So I'm not claiming that he stole it, but we always joke our team, like Filoni strikes again, and now we have a temple, and the temple is collapsing, and now you have this thing. So there's some fun jokes, though. I think my daughter will really love it. She likes Legos too, so like it'll be interesting. I think she might like that even more than Young Jedi Adventures, which has the more Pixar style. Some funny jokes that like even adults would appreciate. Like someone gets called a scruffy looking nerf herder, and he's mad about being called a nerf herder because he's like, we are all nerf herders here, because they are literally nerf herders. That's like their job. So little jokes like that. And it is, not to get too into spoilery, because like with details and specifics of the main overall storyline, but I can tell you like everybody kind of does a heel or a face turn. So if they were good in the originals, now they're bad. If they were bad in the originals, now they're good, which is really cool that the only one that stays true is Leia. And they were asked about it in an interview, and they're like, we feel like Leia in any galaxy or universe would be maintain her goodness, right? So now, but you have like good guy Palpatine and good guy Vader, who's like in an all white,
breathing apparatus.
Yeah. Breathing apparatus. And Luke is like this. I want to save the Luke. The Luke reveal is kind of fun, so I'll save that. But Ross Marquand has always been great at voice. I mean, that's how he got the job as the Red Skull in the Infinity War movie,
right? Because
he does such a good impersonation of Hugh Weaving. He does a perfect Han Solo. Like, I had to look it up and be like, did they just de-age Harrison Ford's voice? No, it's Han Solo. Wow. And they do a funny thing, like I already mentioned, where like you think Han's with Leia, but she's actually with Greedo. And Han says, what can I do? Greedo shot his shot first. and someone else says, "Oh yeah, it makes sense." So kind of they have a lot of these inside jokes for like the long-term Star Wars fans that I want to kind of keep. But overall, that's what got me interested. And I'm sure you guys have all seen footage. They have Darth Jar Jar, and they kind of make a joke about it and stuff like that. He says the line. It's the only line I want to spoil. It's funny. He lights his lightsaber and he looks at people and he says, "Misha thinking you'sa people gonna die." So instead of a question, he's saying it like a sarcastic like pronouncement. And so the fact that everything is topsy-turvy, it's like Freaky Friday in space, and kids will like it. It takes a while to get there, by the way. That I was shocked at the first episode. It starts out in the campfire, and I just thought someone was going to be joking and telling opposite stories, but they actually have a canonized, well, not canon, but like a reason why you're in this topsy-turvy world. But it takes forever to get there. So if unless you're into that main story, but the main story is cool. It's very Star Wars. I won't get into it, but yeah, anybody who's good is probably bad, and anybody who's bad is probably good. And they have some really funny interactions with all of that. And so while I don't think I'm going to catch up with the rest of it on episode 4, I kind of want to wait and watch it all with my daughter when she's up for it. That's any way to get your kid into Star Wars, you got to do it, right?
Right, of course.
So yeah, it's silly. It's Star Wars. And like I said, we always joke, Filoni struck again now because they're doing a and here's what I hope. Here's my only negative.
Okay.
I was really excited when there was rumors that after What If was doing so well that they would do a What If series for Star Wars.
Yeah.
And they could have a full episode of what if Anakin was redeemed and now had that half white, half black apparatus and the costume stuff. Like, I fear that this is like, well, unless it does really well, but it's like a kid's thing. But like, are they doing this and this is their way of doing What If? Because like, it's literally like Akbar works for the Empire, right? Akbar works for the Empire. Like everybody that you think is good is bad, and it's like, well, it's like in this 4-episode series about Legos, and it's very kid-like. Are they just blasting through what could have been a full season of What Ifs? Like you could have had a completely separate episode of what if Palpatine actually was a Jedi and led the Jedi Council. That could have been an episode. You could have had one where it's like, what if Leia married Greedo? I mean, not that one, but obviously, like, and is this going to be the replacement for the What If show? Because I was kind of excited when there was kind of a little bit of underground momentum for that. So we'll see. And I don't think they would be able to do a live action What If, so they would do an animated one anyway. But I think that I would want a What If that would take itself more seriously. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, what if Anakin did kill Obi-Wan? That would be an episode, where he was Vader, but Vader without the apparatus. Why can't I say what he wear? What is his costume, the helmet, and what do you call it?
His uniform. Yeah, sure.
Just a costume. But
but it's not. So, anyways, in the comments, let me know what you're supposed to call that. Outfit, apparatus, but the robotics, whatever. But I recommend it. If you have kids, go ahead and watch it with your kids. And they have jokes for the adults too. And I always like that. It's a very Shrekky type way of doing things, having the jokes for the dads too and moms.
Yeah, and you can knock this one out in an hour and 40 minutes. So the fact that you can watch all 4 episodes in 20, because they're 24 minutes each, probably you can knock it an hour and a half with the credits if you skip the credits. But it's a fantastic collection of actors. Gaten Matarazzo, as we said, Tony Revolori, Bobby Moynihan, D. Bradley Baker, Mark Hamill is back as Luke Skywalker,
as Luke.
Daniels.
I just don't want to speak too much about the Luke thing because it is kind of funny. Yeah, right. But he's in there and it's Hamill.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Does Hamill voice Palpatine? I actually have this loaded up. Why aren't I even accessing it?
Yeah,
Palpatine.
Kevin Michael Richardson's in this. Sam Witwer coming back to voice Maul is great, as you mentioned. Ahmed Best playing Darth Jar Jar. That's incredible thing about the turning of the world, that he would come back to voice Jar Jar, even in an animated.
And right under him is Kelly. Well, not right under him. That sounds bad. But Kelly Marie Tran is back and gets to voice Darth Rose Tico. So I told you I'd be a little spoiler here, but it's cool that she's coming back and that everybody's on board and game. Not everybody, but it's cool. Yeah. So Witwer and all that, just like you said.
Bill Lamar, Ross Marquand, as you mentioned, Naomi Aki, Billy D. Williams is in here, and Jennifer Hale, who's one of my favorite voiceover actresses.
Voice of Bastila in the KOTOR movies and game. Sorry, game. It was a game first.
So your thoughts, Laura? Anything you want to say on this one? I know Kevin and we're kind of monopolizing this one. Any thoughts on this one? Any interest? Would you possibly give it a chance?
I watched it. You can talk about it if you watched it, Rocha.
Why are you taking? It's not an offense. Sometimes you say something happened, it doesn't mean negative. So relax.
I can't hear anything on this phone.
Go ahead, Laura.
No, I watched the first like 2.5 episodes. I will
Oh,
probably
okay.
finish it at some
Oh,
point.
nice.
I thought it was fine. It's a lot of fun. It's like all of this Lego Star Wars stuff, and that it is kind of fun. And Kevin, I don't know how much of the other Lego Star Wars stuff you watch. They're all kind of the what if.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a lot of it. There is, I know, one scene in one of the specials where it's what if Leia was the farm kid that destroyed the Death Star in the X-Wing. Like that
Oh,
whole scene
wow.
plays out. Where I think then Luke is like the grew up royal or whatever. And I like that they're doing it this way. The idea of a Star Wars what if is really intriguing to me. I really like that, but I like that they've put it here in Lego where it's not really, it's very clear that things aren't canon and it can be lighthearted and fun and silly. And I like that they're kind of going that way with it. I don't know if I need another like uber serious what if we're opening the door to the multiverse and that concept in Star Wars. So I enjoyed it. I will probably finish it at some point. It made me really want to go back and actually rewatch some of the other Lego Star Wars specials that I've watched and enjoyed in the past.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, those are out. If you guys want to watch them on Disney Plus, for you all, I mean, listen, you can take an afternoon and just watch it while you're playing on your phone. Like it doesn't really require a lot of attention. It's just a lot of fun.
I give it a 7 Death Stars out of 10.
7 out of 10. All right, let's move on to another story. We got 3 more things to get to before we run out of time here. This is a quick one, but there's apparently a new Anakin and Obi-Wan Star Wars story that was surprisingly released as we're recording this yesterday. It's a story that's set after the Phantom Menace and before Attack of the Clones, when Anakin is still a Jedi Padawan training with his Jedi master. This is an interesting situation. The story is written by Brian Q. Miller and narrated by Kevin Kemp. It is called Padawan's Pride, and it has been released on Audible, and it follows Anakin and Obi-Wan. By the way, it's $16 on Audible, so this better be a long one. It follows Anakin and Obi-Wan infiltrating an underground pod racing circuit to find a Republic spy who is believed to be a prisoner of the crime boss running the illegal operation, with Anakin posing as a pod racer and Obi-Wan posing as his attendant. The duo's relationship is tested in new ways in this adventure that takes place 3 years after the Phantom Menace. So what are your thoughts on this, Laura? Like this random, out of nowhere, Audible book, it just drops for people to have a little bit more background on the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin back then. So in terms of the canon of where we're at with Star Wars, what are your thoughts on this? Do you like this? Do you think this is a cool situation? This is like a Beyonce album dropping at midnight out of nowhere. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm surprised and confused because unlike a Beyonce album, which you would not need to put any effort or money into marketing,
True.
You do need to actually spend some time putting this information out there and building up the hype ahead of time for people like me who would hear about this and be like, oh, that's mildly intriguing. Maybe I've got my Audible subscription that I pay for every month anyway. I can listen to this in my mind for free. I know it's not for free, but it's basically free in my brain. And I would eventually probably listen to it at some point, but I'm just surprised. I mean, it's basically a middle grade novel that they've put into audiobook form, but instead of doing a whole like original cast, it's just the one narrator, and it's only about 4 hours long. So it's on the shorter side as far as audiobooks go, and the audio originals that Star Wars does the full production of, with the full cast. But I don't, the story's intriguing. If you go to the actual Audible page for this book, or I guess for this story, there's a 2-minute trailer, and I started wondering, I'm like, wait, are all my favorite audiobooks, are there trailers that I just didn't know about? Because I was mildly intrigued, but then I listened to the trailer and I was like, oh, I think I want this story, actually. I would like to listen to this. So I probably will, because again, it is basically free as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Laura, how much is an Audible subscription? Is it like $8 or is it 20?
No, it's like $15 a month. It's not.
But you get 3 credits a month, so you get 3 of those $16 books. You know what I mean?
No, you only get one. You only get 1 credit a month.
Oh, really? Maybe when you first join, you get a deal or anything, or no?
Oh yeah, you can get like there's promo codes all over the place where you can get a free audiobook for sure. But it's just one a month, and I know this because you can go in and like return things sometimes, and then you can get like an extra credit back.
Oh,
but you can only do it like after a year or within a year of it being released or you buying it or something. I don't know. Either way, it's just very strange to me that they didn't put any effort into marketing this. It almost seems like they forgot that it was a thing. Like somebody dropped the ball, like somebody quit their job at Disney Lucasfilm Press and forgot that this was coming out. And then all of a sudden they're like, holy shit, that's coming out today. We gotta do something. And then they were just like, just drop it. It's fine. Like it just is weird. It's weird.
Is this canon?
Yes, it is.
Right?
Canon, yeah.
Okay.
Everything's canon, Rocha. Even
Lego isn't.
Well, that was my question though too. I was like, is this a Legends? Because they are taking the old Legends novels and like republishing them at the moment. Like that is a thing that's happening. So I'm like, oh, maybe this is like they adapted an old Legend story. No, this is a new story and it's canon and it's weird.
Yeah, Anakin is 12 and testing the boundaries of his relationship with Obi-Wan. Kevin, does this excite you? Will you listen to it? Would you give this thing a shot? And what do you think about them just kind of randomly dropping this, like a midnight drop, just random out of nowhere? What do you think?
Dave Chappelle showed up to the Comedy Store, man, at midnight, smoking a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Look, I have that Star Wars Super Watch list, and I just loaded it up. And like, there's so much Clone Wars content. It's like when you look at it, it's like everything like before like Phantom Menace was like this. And then there's like Phantom Menace and a little like that. And then the Clone Wars was like all this stuff. Then you have like the trilogy, right? So anything I was trying to find, whether it's canon or not, because for the Super Watch, I include everything, right? That as long as things don't get too messy. But so I threw it in there. And so because there's not a lot after the Phantom Menace. There's Great Tales of the Age of Republic, Anakin and Obi-Wan short story, which is like really quick. It's like 7 or 8 pages, one of his earliest missions but it gets into like how he's kind of an outcast in the temple. He's above everyone else. He's with all these younglings that suck, and he's like good, you know. And then they had another one, Anakin and Obi-Wan comic series, where they go off planet for like 3 or 4 issues, and it's like a big deal. And it's just like cutting his teeth as a Jedi. And so I added, when I saw that posted, I think I might have seen one of you guys posted or whatever, but I added it. It's like number 16 on the Super Watch now. So it would happen after Rogue Planet, which Rogue Planet, it was like a year after Phantom Menace. And Rogue Planet, by the way, is one of the first novels ever after Phantom Menace came out. And I was all excited to read it because it's before Attack of the Clones. It's not canon, but in the Super Watch it is. So yeah, it takes place after that, but it takes place after a bounty hunter game or during the bounty hunter game. But like, yeah, so I always like plugging it in. So it's part of it. I will definitely listen to it because there's not a lot of content of pre-Attack of the Clones, Anakin and Obi-Wan adventure stuff. And you want to hear that because you hear about how they're like best friends and stuff. And you get a lot of that in the Clone Wars, obviously, during the war. But like, you want to see like the rearing part where he was really young and he was learning his first lesson. So I'm excited for it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll give this thing a shot. Maybe. I thought you signed up for Audible and it's unlimited, but clearly it's not. It's crazy.
Well, there is like an Audible Premium or Audible Unlimited something that is different than an Audible subscription. Because I think there was something like that was an Audible original, and if you do the Audible Unlimited for $9 a month, maybe you get access to that. But I don't know what else it gets you. So
yeah,
I'm just in it for like the new releases.
I think what I was mixing the 3 up. When you join Audible, you'll get every now and then an email that will like say like buy 3 credits for $29. So it makes these $15 or $20 books down to like 10 a book, you know, because it's just one book's 1 credit.
Fair point. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to another story. Either way, that's great, and I might give it a chance. It's 4 hours. I mean, I'm sure I can clean up the house and listen to it while I'm doing 4 hours of stuff. Kevin, let's move on to this. This is something you really wanted to talk about here. John Williams' Star Wars theme is officially the first violin performance in space. Polaris Dawn mission specialist Sarah Gillis, which you can watch on YouTube on the Space Intelligence account, has made Rey's theme from Star Wars Force Awakens the first violin performance conducted in orbit. How long is this thing? It's 4.5 minutes, the whole video. She's joined by youth musicians from around the globe. Her performance follows on the heels of the SpaceX engineer turned astronaut performing a historic 106-minute spacewalk outside the Dragon spacecraft, along with tech entrepreneur Jared Isaacman. So this is a really cool thing, Kevin. Why did you want to talk about this on the show besides the coolness factor of this? What's your thoughts here?
Well, my grandfather worked in the space program and the Apollo program, so I'm always up in space. I got to work on the SpaceX, like one of the shows, as an editor, which was a thrill for me.
Nice.
Another reason I wanted to show is because I had other space facts of the first trumpet in space or the first thing that was ever played in space. But I can't do that because now I'm on my phone, and if I minimize it to load up the screen grabs of all of the cool facts that I had for you, I think it would turn off the computer or turn off my camera. So unfortunately, so I'm just going to have to limit it to the rate. It's not the first ever classical music performed in space, though. There has been others. There's been records and stuff like that. And there was some really cool factoids that I saw, I believe, that I can't even give you right now. And I feel really bummed about that. Rocha, maybe if you wanted to, while I'm kind of talking here, if you type maybe first music first in space, there was just cool stuff that I had made screen grabs of. But I listened to it. It's great. And also, she's not just a violinist that went up to space. She's like an astronaut.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. She's did a spacewalk.
Yeah, so this is her hobby, so she got to do it. And I think that's cool that she got to do it as her hobby, and she gets to play the Ray theme. And I love the Ray theme. So, and it's really cool when she's she's dialed into the other people that were playing on Earth, and it's just a cool thing. Technology is really cool. Space is really cool. As much as we talk about Star Wars and that's all the fantastical, but we really get, the human achievement of being able to get up in space is pretty cool. And my grandfather being a part of that when I was growing up, he would watch the new space shuttle launches. He was part of the Apollo program, obviously. I was like, what happened with Apollo 13? Was that your fault? But yeah, I didn't say that.
That's what you want to
But he's God bless, rest in peace, my grandfather. But yeah, so he would have been thrilled to see that someone was playing because he loved music too. So I just thought it was a cool thing, and it was when this news hit, it was kind of in a negative space or negative time in the Star Wars fandom. So sometimes you just need to cleanse the timeline and play it. But first violin solo played in space, and it's Ray's theme, fantastic.
Yeah, a couple of things. The first song that was ever performed in space was a Ukrainian song called Watching the Sky. This was in August of 1962. Let's see. The first musical instruments played in outer space were an 8-note Hohner Little Lady harmonica and a handful of small bells carried by American astronauts Wally Schirra and Thomas P. Stafford aboard the Gemini 6A. Upon achieving a space rendezvous with Earth in Earth orbit with their sister ship Gemini 7 in December of 1965, Schirra and Stafford played a rendition of Jingle Bells over the radio after jokingly claiming to have seen a UFO piloted by Santa Claus. These instruments had been smuggled on board without NASA's knowledge, and the space director, the mission control director, Elliot C., said, "You're too much," to Schirra after the song. Oh, Wally. In 1970,
little did they know the harmonica could have had something inside it that would have affected the inner shield.
Blown everything.
Who knows, right? It's so early on in space. That's probably why they had a no-fly list.
Way to go, Wally. In the 1970s, music tape cassettes were brought to the American Space Station Skylab with Soviet cosmonauts Alexander Levitin and Yuri Romanenko. Brought a guitar to the space station Mir in 1987. Musical instruments must be checked for gases, as Kevin just alluded to. They may emit before being taken aboard the confined environment of a space station. And we've come so far that in 2003, at the International Space Station, they had a flute, a keyboard, a guitar, a saxophone, and a didgeridoo that were a part of this whole situation. So I love that word. That's one of my favorite fucking words in the world. Didgeridoo, that's a great word.
Can you combine that with the "Did I steal that?" into one sentence?
I don't think I can. Did I steal that didgeridoo? Anyway, no, I can't do it. They played Heartbreak Hotel there as well at one point in 2000. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. And ironically, of course, playing Space Oddity, the David Bowie song, which is pretty cool. So this is great. I love this.
You found the article. Thanks. I'm bumming that I didn't get to. Yeah, very cool.
Well, your thoughts on this, Laura? You think it's cool? Is this cool? It's fun, right?
I mean, the Screen Rant article that you had shared said something about how the American Film Institute put 1977 Star Wars as one of the greatest American film scores of all time. And I love that, despite that, this person chose to play Ray's theme for the sequel trilogy. I love that so much. But when you also think about the fact that, just logistically, that Star Wars and that da 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 da, that's horns. You really couldn't do that. I don't think you could strike the same chord, if you will, with the violin.
Pun
So
intended.
Rey's theme is actually like perfect for the violin. And I bet that's cool. I love that.
Gillis said she chose the Rey theme because it, quote, symbolizes unity and hope, highlighting the resilience and potential of children everywhere. And its underlying sense of optimism is a fitting tribute to the International Space Organization aimed at promoting musical education and social change. So there you go. I think it's pretty.
And a follow-up on that, I wanted to look up because there are some astronauts that were stranded up there, but she did not. She's home. They just landed a couple days ago, actually. She's back on Earth to play more violin music here.
To play more violin music. Yes, exactly. All right, let's end the show on a little bit of a downbeat, but also a bit of a tribute beat, I think, as well. I mean, it's been a couple of weeks since we did our last show, so we do have to talk about the passing of the great James Earl Jones, who passed just a few days ago. I guess 11 days ago, but it feels like yesterday. What an incredible legacy he leaves in the Star Wars universe as the voice of Darth Vader, and what he was able to do. You know, in this discussions I had with a number of people on a number of my shows here, the thing that I was blown away by, and I didn't know as I was doing research and reading all the tributes, I didn't know he was only paid like $7,000 to do the voice of Darth Vader. I didn't know that he didn't want to take credit until Return of the Jedi, which I think is so awesome, because he basically was like, David Prowse did the voice on set. David Prowse did the physical movements. Why should I take credit for that? I'm special effects. And he felt that way about Mercedes McCambridge voicing the voice of Reagan in The Exorcist. Mercedes didn't want to credit for the same reason, special effects. So it's a fascinating thing, but also I don't think we have Star Wars without James Earl Jones in that voice. There is just something about Vader enduring and the legacy of Vader that is so tied to the James Earl Jones voice. Laura, what are your thoughts on this? What are your memories of James Earl Jones? Of course, a wonderful actor in numerous great films and appearances and fun stuff like Big Bang Theory when he was on there and things. So what are your thoughts of him as the voice, and what do you feel now that he has kind of left us?
Yeah, he had a 60-year career. I remember reading about a lot about him when I first heard that he died. I mean, film, television, and on stage.
Yeah.
Just a really inspiring career. And that like power and that majesty that he brought to the Darth Vader character, I mean, that just made the role. It really put it, I think it really helped put Star Wars on the map, to be honest. I mean, there's a reason that we think of Darth Vader as like one of the greatest villains of all time, and I credit James Earl Jones with a lot of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, early memories of him, like obviously The Lion King, hearing his voice, and that was my introduction to him. But I didn't actually, I don't think I ever saw him in anything until I saw The Sandlot as a kid. And even then, I didn't like make the connection as a child that that's Mufasa's voice too. So I just thought that was really cool, seeing him in that movie. And yeah, finding out that he was Darth Vader, because of course I saw Star Wars after I had seen The Sandlot. It's just really fun. His career was so impressive. I think I remember seeing something about how he was in the play Fences. I don't know if he was like the original person on there. Okay, got it. That would have been something to see. I hope that they recorded that for posterity somewhere in the world, and I could actually watch it. But if not, I'll have to just go watch the movie. But yeah. Very sad. This was so sad to hear. And I mean, it wasn't fully unexpected. He was an old man and he lived an amazing life. But yeah, very sad to hear of his passing on September 9th.
Yeah, I mean, do yourself a favor. Anybody's watching, like, go watch old interviews with him, with like Dick Cavett, with Charlie Rose. It's a man of incredible intelligence, and he overcame a stutter in high school. In middle school and high school, in order to become an actor. And it was his poetry teacher, his English teacher, who pushed him to read his poem because he was creative and he would write poetry. He couldn't speak it because of his stutter, and it was his teacher who forced him to do it, and that's what walked him down the path of being an actor. And Laura, I think we all have our things as kids. Like for me, I had seen him in the Bingo Long and the Traveling All-Stars. I'd seen him in these kind of 70s black movies, and I didn't make the connection that he was the voice of Darth Vader till later. I mean, I even saw Conan before I made the connection that this was the same guy, and he's such a great villain in that. And then, of course, you see Field of Dreams I was like 19 when I saw Field, or 18 when I saw Field, and that is such a an incredible performance. And then you see all the wonderful things he's done. There is a movie I would recommend for people who have not seen, A Great White Hope. That's where you see James Earl Jones in his pure strength in 1967 or 68. And there is a clip, Laura, of the scene, the big critical scene in Fences from the Tony Awards with him and Courtney B. Vance playing his son. It is incredible. Incredible. You got to watch it. You got to watch it. What Denzel did was great. What James did was next level. Kevin, your thoughts on James Earl Jones?
Well, when you speak third, you kind of run out of all. I was like, wait, I can still talk about this. I can still get, and it just kept the check that you just kept checking them off. So I have one that no one noticed. This is CNN. He was the voice of the CNN. Yes. So back to my grandfather, when I'd visit him, he'd always watch CNN. And I remember hearing him all the time. I'd be like, "That's Darth Vader," and he would be like, "Darth what?" Another fact, it's cool that he didn't want credit. I remember David Hyde Pierce was the voice of Abe Sapien in one of the Hellboy movies, and he purposely didn't want to get credited either because he felt that Doug Jones. Yeah. So, and I'll just add this because all the things you guys are saying is pretty much like what the ones that I saw as well. And I will just add this other cool tidbit is he's so Mufasa that when they rebooted it and had everybody revoice new characters, new actors for the Lion King, they're like, not for Mufasa. We're gonna keep with James Earl Jones. That's how powerful and as a voice he is. And I'm curious, I forget not to get into the more specifics of like AI and did they get permission from his estate moving forward to do his voice, or are they going to end up doing a new voice actor if he's ever in new media? That'll be the interesting thing to come in the coming years, because that voice is pretty irreplaceable. There's some good dead ringers in the video games and fan films, but like there's no replacing how good James Earl Jones sounds. So rest in peace to him. He was great. Yeah, I loved him in The Sandlot and in Field of Dreams. Hearing him say the words baseball just makes me want to go out and play catch. So, yeah, rest in peace to that man, Dark Lord of the Sith.
America's been torn down, and the way it built up again. It's so strong. You're right. But he signed a contract before the end of his life saying that they could digitally use his voice and adapt it and make it work. So there's been some controversy around that, but you know what? Look, I mean, he voiced it, so you do what you want with it. I think it's like he's earned the right to do what he wants.
I do want to know why Anakin Hayden talks like that because of the voice. Is it like a voice modulator? Was it to hide his voice, or was it like just a consequence of that machinery? That's the 5th time today I've had to try to describe what Vader wears, but I always laughed and was like, "Why is his voice? Can we change it? Hey, pal, can we dial it up so I can sound a little more like me? Like every time I'm on here, I sound like the guy from Sandlot." But
James,
God bless him.
James said that George Lucas had seen him on stage when he was trying to figure out what to do with the voice because he didn't like Prowse's voice.
Yeah.
And he said, I know I needed something deeper and darker. And so when he saw James on stage, that's where he asked him to do the voice. So
no brainer. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, well, there you go. That's our episode. And of course, rest in power, of course, of the great James Earl Jones. Thank you so much for watching this particular episode of the Star Wars Jedi Way. We had a lot to talk about today. So thanks for hanging out with us over an hour. We appreciate it. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit a like on this video. Leave your comments about everything we talked about. We would appreciate that. Kevin, please let people know where they can find you and what you got going on another fantastic show, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Great seeing you guys. Sorry for the technical hiccups. At Kev Smets, you can find me. Not really doing Scoundrels that much anymore. I think we're now more on just like if we ever get together, we'll do it, which is ironic and funny because Brandon Hanna still submitted us almost as a gag again to see if we can get in the LA Comic-Con for a panel, and they awarded us one on the very weekend that I'm taking care of Kira on my own. So I'll be driving from San Diego all the way up to LA. Woo. And not only that, the good folks at the LA Comic-Con planned our panel at the exact same time as fellow Star Wars contributor and someone with way more followers than us that will get all the people over there for his Star Wars panel, Andreas Cabrera. So if you can't get into that one and there's standing room only, you can come and we'll take all the leftovers. It's really funny. They wouldn't change our time. Why would you put out of a LA Comic-Con? Why would you put 2 Star Wars panels at the exact same time? We all love Andreas Cabrera. He's awesome, and he has 10 times more followers than me, or Brandon, or any of us. So we'll probably be just talking to ourselves, but that'll be fun, just to get together and see those guys again. But yeah, Scoundrels Inc. We're more on a kind of a whenever we get around to it, or especially. So, but it's good to see you guys, and yeah, KOTOR production. It's going to be picking up a little bit more. We're aiming for a winter release, so hopefully by the end of the year we'll have that out. So That's it.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Laura, always fun to see you. Sorry we kept you from your plans for as long as we did, but thank you for sticking around. Please let people know where they can find you and what you got going on.
No, this was so fun, you guys. I love talking Star Wars with you guys, so I'm glad we still got to make it work despite technical difficulties. Kevin, we've all been there. Trust me, I've been through my fair share of them, so I get it. But speaking of Andres Cabrera, I did reunite with my swag teammate just recently to be on his show. He does a show called Sabak the Block, where he talks about Star Wars, often with a guest, and most recently with me. So it was right around the time of the Emmys that we recorded. So we talked about what we thought were Emmy and Oscar worthy performances in Star Wars shows and movies. So that was a lot of fun. And we did a look back on the Book of Boba Fett. We sort of honed in on episode 2 of that show. If you recall, that was when Steph Green directed. And it had a lot of that Tusken Raider sort of backstory and lore added into Star Wars, and through that episode in particular. And I loved it. So it was really fun to talk about it. You can find that hopefully soon. I don't know when, and it's not out yet, on the First Cut YouTube channel. So I'll link to that in my socials. You can find me on Twitter at @shutup_Laura, and you can find the podcast that I host with my friend Alice, where we drink wine and talk about Star Wars, at Force Toast Pod on Twitter.
There you go. As for me, at the Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, please subscribe again to the channel. Hit that bell button. You know we got all kinds of content going on here. Geek Buddies, Hot Mic, The Jedi Way, my reactions, my reviews, Spill the Tequila. It doesn't end on this channel, so there's so much content. Please make sure you subscribe down below. All right, thank you so much for watching. Laura, what do we have to tell them before we get on out of here?
Until next time, remember, your focus determines your reality.